Hi, it's Nicole McGurk with this week's From Start to Finish video brought to you by twopeasinAbucket.com. This week's layout is a coordinating layout to the layout I showed a couple of weeks ago, and this is a title and end page for a school album. Okay, this week I am going to be doing a layout that it complements the layout I did a couple weeks ago for my oldest son's school album. And I did kind of a collage page that had lots of photos throughout the year. So it kind of encompassed the entire year. What I'm going to do today is, even though it's a two-page layout, they're both going to be single pages in the book. One's going to be the title page for his kindergarten year. Then it'll be the two-page spread that I shared a couple weeks ago, and the last page will just be kind of a little bit of this and that. A couple of things like he made in kindergarten, like this little laminated handprint that was a turkey, and just some kind of memorabilia and a couple of photos probably, just to kind of end that kindergarten age. And I'll share my album here at the end of the video just so you can see kind of how I put mine together. So what I'm going to do here is I'm using a lot of the same papers that I used for my other page. Not that I'll use these same papers throughout his entire school album, but I kind of wanted the whole kindergarten section to coordinate, I guess is the right word. So here I just did a little sketch as I was trying to figure out how exactly I wanted to do his title page. And what it is I'm going to be punching a border excuse me, along the top that has that notebook edge, which I like to use a lot anyway, but I thought it would be fun to do that, especially in his school album. Then instead of using the large like 8x10 photos, I'm not real partial to those. I don't know why. I just don't care for them. And so I decided to just tuck that in the envelope pocket in his album to save. But I'm going to be using his smaller, the little like 3x5 photo or 4x5, whatever. I think it's like 3.5x5 actually. So I'll die cut this, and I'll place his kindergarten photo on there. I'm going to die cut his title, the title for kindergarten, and then I'm going to be stamping a whole bunch of stuff. So anyway, I'm sorry my explanation went on and on. Here are the papers I'm going to use, and of course this is going to be my like notebook edge paper, and this is from the My Mind's Eye Lush collection, and this is the turquoise, which you can see it's really bright on this side. But I love that this is just kind of a cream. It's not exactly white, and it's not really like tannish. I really didn't want it to get too yellowed because a lot of these papers are more bright and primary, but it's just a really nice blue. So I think, and it's subtle, so I can print a little bit of journaling on this and it'll still show up. So I have that, and I did pull out this paper from October Afternoon from the Schoolhouse collection. It's a little like, this has more of that kind of vintagey cream background that I didn't really want to use, but I think in small doses it might be okay. I might just trim like a pencil border or an apple border from here to use somewhere in the design. It adds a nice pop of color, plus since there are images in this, a little bit of embellishment. I'm not doing a lot of thick embellishments in this album because I don't want it to get too bulky. So then I have this stripe that I used before from Bella Boulevard, from the Sophisticates line. You can see this is just the scrap of paper left over. It's not the entire sheet. I have that and the polka dots, also from the Sophisticates by Bella Boulevard. This is the green lined paper from Mr. Boy. The Doodlebug swimming pool paper, and also the bumblebee. So I got some turquoise and yellow. Oh, sorry, my phone. And then the Bella Boulevard red with a little white polka dot. So this is just kind of the leftovers I pulled out. I may have to grab some other things and whatnot as I go along. Okay, for my page, because I thought I would like to do the numbers all in large type here on my notebook thing. From Unity Stamp, I have the Advent collection, our Advent stamp set, which is like 2 packages that come in this. It's a huge stamp set. You get all of these numbers that are nice and big Plus you get all these cute little phrases, which are really fun. And I'm going to be using one of these, I think, in somewhere on my title page or on the second page there. And then I'm going to be using the numbers. And I'll just show you real quick how big these are. These are nice, substantial numbers. Great for all kinds of things. I think these will really be nice to do the date that he was in kindergarten. So, and this is something like, I don't need to get more stickers or anything like this. This can be used over and over and over. And every year it could kind of follow some sort of consistency throughout his school album. So that is that stamp set. Also, I did pull out a few of my favorite Ali Edwards stamp sets just because it had some fun sayings and things to fill in. This page isn't going to have a ton of journaling, maybe a tidbit here and there, but I wanted to fill it in with some nice text pieces. So I have the favorite memories, the kids are cool, which I thought those would be really great for a kid page, and also the Simply Use set, which is a little small set, but this, you can see by all the stamp staining, this is one of my most used stamp sets. I have used this one tons, especially maybe even a year to a year and a half ago. There's quite a few pages I've done using this one. So these both have been used a lot. They're two of my very most favorites, and this is one of my newest favorites. So I have those. Also, in case I need maybe a few embellishments, I did pull out this ribbon set from October Afternoon. And then I thought it would be fun to take some of these Jenny Bolin die cut circles and maybe use them on my second page of my layout, tuck them in here and there, or use them for information or something like that. Probably this one is the one I'm thinking I'll use. And then I have some of these little flare pieces. These are the October Afternoon ones, the school themed ones. So I thought I might use something from that if I needed a little embellishment. And also any of these button clips from KI Memories. So I'm going to get started putting the page together for you. Okay, I know this is kind of a long video today, and I apologize. I talked too long at the beginning. I am going to start with just cutting a few thin strips, or I guess just this one to begin with. It's going to kind of be an accent piece to the rest of my layout. I felt it's pretty text heavy here on the left side of the page, or for the title page rather. Even though this is showing as a two-page layout, each of these are kind of standalone pages. One is the title page and one is the end page for the kindergarten section on my son's layout. So I'm just working with a lot of the scraps of paper I had from the layout I shared a couple of weeks ago in the From Start to Finish series here on 2Ps. And I'm cutting some 5x5 squares for the right side of the page here as I'm trimming paper. And you can see I've also already die cut part of my title, the kindergarten. I wanted it to be very prominent on the page. And I'm laying out my stamps just to kind of see what kind of placement I'm going to want for my page. Now, with the Unity stamps there up at the top, obviously those are kind of hard, they're not clear, but you can still get it, since they're unmounted, you can still get a really good idea of how they're going to work on your page. And I'm using a whole bunch of different combinations of the Ali Edwards stamps from the 3 stamp sets that I shared there at the beginning of the video, just trying to figure out how I like them best. And you can see I really messed around and played with them quite a bit before I actually got to the stamping. Now with these Unity stamps, you're going to want to peel off that white backing paper, and I am using the Stamp-A-Ma-Jig because these are the red rubber stamps and not clear. I didn't want to chance that I didn't stamp these exactly perfect, so I did use the Stamp-A-Ma-Jig. And just like with wood-mounted stamps, it helps you align them perfectly. And I'm using the primary colors of ink to stamp all the way across there at the top. So I stamped the 2004, starting with the 2 from the left side of the page, Then I switched over to the right side of the page and started with my 5 and my 0. And that leaves me a nice space in between where I can add an accent. I'm thinking that I want to put the majority of my stamping right underneath that big date there. I think it'll be a nice accent piece. So I'm just playing around with that a little bit more before I actually do anything. You can see I moved everything around and then I went to something else because it just wasn't quite feeling right. So I punched a circle from vellum and punched a star rather from some of the pattern paper, and I'm just layering things. And I was originally going to use that little blue star, and I ended up not doing that and adding one of the accents that I shared from the beginning first. And I punched a smaller circle from some of the yellow paper and placed it behind the vellum, just as a nice layering element. Okay, I'm getting ready to stamp now. I have kind of figured out that I like this combination of stamps, and so I'm just going to pick them up one at a time. I probably could have stamped them all at once. However, with the cursive type stamps, I find that I kind of like to squish them up a little bit closer, I guess is what I kind of like to do. And you can't really lay them all out that way, so I usually stamp them individually. You can see here where this little phrase kind of overlaps that cursive a little bit. I'm stamping all of this in gray. Because the numbers are so bright and bold, I thought that this would be kind of ground that phrase a little bit better by stamping it in a more neutral color. There's quite a bit of color going on even in the die cutting, so I didn't want to have too much where that phrase gets washed out. And then I have one more tiny little phrase here that I'm going to stamp right underneath where I'm going to adhere my die cut title. Now with the die cut title, I have die cut it first from black cardstock, and most of the time anymore when I'm using these die cut titles, I really like doing this. I die cut it again from the yellow, and I left just a little bit of a shadow. I really think it adds that depth and dimension without having to do a lot of work like pop it up or anything like that. And then this is a two-piece die cut from Carrie Bradford, and the Kinder part was a separate piece that I cut from another sheet of pattern paper, or scrap of pattern paper rather, so that it really gives that dimensional type title. Going to go ahead and adhere all those punched pieces that I did a little bit ago and add that October afternoon flare to the center. And then I've cut some thin strips of paper. I'm going to tuck those there, add a border sticker, and I should have done that first, so I'm going to fix that real quick. And the border sticker is from Bella Boulevard, and it's just a fun little scallop design. This could also be achieved with some pattern paper and a punch, or your die cut machine. I'm just going the easy way and using some stickers. Cute little flag stickers from Echo Park. I thought those would be cute. Tucked underneath my border. And adds a pop of color down there at the bottom of the page where there's not a whole lot. Little phrase sticker up there at the top. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut one of these pencils out from this pattern paper from October Afternoon. I had originally thought I might use this as a border somewhere on my page, but I'm going to pop that up with some pop dots and adhere it right underneath the title. And it adds just a fun decorative element. And like I said before, where it's so text heavy, I did want to kind of incorporate some fun things like the apple border and the star embellishment, and of course the pencil now. Finish my die cut title, and this side of the page is almost finished. I did add a couple of those little mini clips. Those are some of my favorite things to use. Now for the end page of the album, I cut 4 5x5 squares of pattern paper, and I'm going to adhere them to some white cardstock. And for the end page, I'm adding a whole bunch of fun memorabilia. My son's handprint and how he wrote his name, his self-portrait that they did. Lots of those things that just some of my favorite pieces that would fit on a layout from his kindergarten year. The rest of it's all tucked into a pocket that I'll show here at the end of the video. But these are just little things. I cut his name from a sheet of paper where they practiced their names. And of course the turkey was something that they made around Thanksgiving, but I thought it was cute. It showed his handprint, of course, which now his hand is so much bigger, so it's just really fun to look back on those things. And now comes the part where I'm adding some embellishment. The die cut sheet from Jenny Bolin and some stickers from October Afternoon, things like that. I die cut that little file tab to mount his self-portrait of he and his sister. And then I am using some stickers from the Becky Higgins school kit. I'm not really following the school kit per se, how it came. I decided after I had done a couple of pages that way, which I did leave, I didn't change those, that I didn't want my whole album to look exactly the same. I'm going to kind of follow the same format she had, where there's a title page and an end page and then the 2 pages inside. And maybe sometimes there'll be more. But I just felt like I wanted to be able to customize it to my personal style. And so this is how I'm doing it. But I love those little stickers that work perfectly here, where I used one for the signature and for the self-portrait. There's a little sticker there I'm putting, all kinds of things. I'm going to wrap a little bit of the divine twine around this one square and tie a little bow. I kind of fiddled with that just a little bit. I didn't want it to be in the way of his name too much. And that the other photo I used here was they had like 2 picture days in school, and so I used the main one, the one they use in their little yearbook, for the title page, and I used the other one here just for a fun touch. Because the inside pages that I did a couple weeks ago had so many photos, I didn't feel like I needed to repeat that a lot here. Now this is one more stamp from the Unity Advent stamp set that the numbers that I stamped on the title page were from it as well. Just a cute little phrase that I stamped right on an October Afternoon label sticker. And then I'm just going to stick that there and adhere my little turkey guy. And I think it adds a lot when you're using little bits and pieces of paper memorabilia like this to add some of your own customized touches. Like I put the handprint sticker and then I punched a little heart there, and I'll add a mini Brad to it in a minute. It doesn't mess up anything. I think it only adds to the layering and the interest of the page. It makes it much more interesting to add some of those little bits and pieces than to leave it kind of plain, maybe. And there's so many different ways you can do this. This is definitely not the only way. I'm going to repeat that star accent that I did on the title page here with a sticker from October Afternoon and some more punched circles and a star. And I cut a little phrase that my son had printed on the computer one day when I was helping out in his kindergarten class, and he made it for me. And it's just a fun memory. And he printed out this little sheet. It doesn't say a whole lot. He was real excited about a new Star Wars t-shirt I had gotten him, and so he typed me up this little note. But it's just one of those things I've always remembered, so I wanted to include it on my page. There's that little heart Brad there. And then I went ahead and I'm trying to figure out how I want to add my journaling to say this is what happened at school that day. And I decided to print it on an October Afternoon label that I'll adhere here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and add a couple more little pieces. And there is my label stickers. Just layering a couple more there. And secure it with the tiny attacher. I'm going to add a little bit more divine twine to that sticker tag. Now here is what my album looks like. So here's the title page. And then here is the inside layout that I shared a couple of weeks ago that encompasses the entire year. the end page that has some of my favorite memorabilia from that year, or his favorite memorabilia, just fun things that you can look at quickly and remember. And finally, the pocket page that came with the Becky Higgins kit. You could use a sheet protector or all kinds of things. But this, I just tucked in some of his favorite work and artwork and things like that in this pocket. And then I did make my own customized little label that matches the rest of the kindergarten section of his school album, as opposed to using the piece that came with the actual kit. So you can kind of see how I worked the kit to, or customized it to work for me and my family. For more information on this layout, please visit twopeasinabucket.com on June 8th, 2011, under the From Start to Finish series. Thanks for watching.